What's happening, Wargamers? Welcome to another episode of the Dossier, the Marvel Crisis Protocol show where we talk all things Crisis Protocol characters, from the model design to the character cards to where we kind of feel they exist in the game and where they might benefit you. Now, of course, these are not meant to be in-depth conversations. They're just meant to be topic starters to get you looking into the character, maybe considering someone you hadn't thought about before, get you interested, and send you on a journey to read more about these characters and one of the many in-depth discussions that have happened online. And of course, these shows can't happen without the wonderful support of our patrons at patreon.com/AgesBrainStudios. For a couple bucks a month, you can help keep everything going here, keep the content coming, keep the upkeep going, and basically allow us to keep up with the various battle reports and new and exciting things that AMG is releasing for all their games. So thank you to everyone who is currently a patron of Aegis Brand Studios. Can't do this without you. Thank you so much. So today we are talking about Bob, Agent of Hydra. And this one's a fun one because he's kind of a whimsical model. As you can see here, I chose the chef's hat option for Bob because he did come with different options for what you can do for his head. You can make him a little bit more serious looking, or you can give him the chef's hat. I gave him the chef's hat because, frankly, Bob, chef's hat, thumbs up, big bazooka, love it all. It's a great image going along with all of it. And it worked really nicely when he was paired with Deadpool, who also had a lot of alternate options on his particular kit. As far as assembly, I mean, there's not much to say. Torsos, legs, arms. The bazooka was easy to assemble. The hat was already on the head. The pistol holster was about, and I think this pouch over here were like really kind of the only wild card pieces, but even then very easy to put together. It's not a tactical rock. We got a tactical ammo crate, which not too shabby right there. All in all, it's a very simple model. It's not the greatest model, not the worst model, but very thematic for what he does. I dig it. I think it's fun. I smile whenever I see Bob on the table as a result. So what does Bob bring us? Okay, well, saddle in because we got some interesting stuff here. So he's 3 stamina, medium movement, size 2, threat 2, 2s across the board for his defenses. So you might be wondering, well, this is like one of the worst defensive profiles we've seen so far. He can't really defend himself. He doesn't really have stamina. So what's up with that? Well, we'll see what's going on here. But he does have the range to kind of stay out of some threat, which is really kind of nice. So he's got the Hydra pistols. It is a range 3 physical 4 dice, and it is a gainer. Thankfully, I'm very happy to see a gainer on this one because 4 dice builders suck. But besides that, not much more to say about Hydra pistol. Then we have excessive violence, and this is what makes him so much fun. It is a physical attack, range 4, 9 dice. And this character can choose his attack only if it has a loaded token. After the attack is resolved, the character loses all loaded tokens it has. Before damage is dealt, all other characters within 2 of the target suffer 2 damage. This does hit friendlies as well, keep that in mind. But it is unanswerable 2 damage. The only way to deal with it is damage reduction. But it's a great way of just getting a whole bunch of splash damage on if you're running any sort of like the C's or E's scenarios where people are really bunched up. And then before damage is dealt, this character is thrown away from the target character's short. The throw is resolved by the player controlling the target character. Then if this character does not have a daze token, it suffers 3 damage. So as you can see here, once he does excessive violence, he is going to daze himself. So that's, this is sounding really bad so far, but I promise there's more to this one going on here. But excessive violence, a 9 dice attack on a 2 threat character can really throw a lot of plans out of whack. And I have seen people actively work around this, trying to avoid Bob getting excessive violence off as much as possible. So it's kind of a mad solution, mutually assured destruction. Like, go after Bob, sure, cool, because if you don't, he's throwing a big missile your way and probably doing some damage. So we got Hydra Tactics for 2 power. Choose another allied character within 2 of this character. Place this character within 1 of the chosen character. We've seen this on Winter Soldier to great effect. This is a great ability. The only downside is that Bob kind of struggles to generate power, so you're not using it all the time. He also has the range where he doesn't necessarily care all the time, but still, good ability to have. We have Make It Spicy Bob. This is an action for 8 power. This character gains a loaded token, so this is how he gets his excessive violence back. It is very expensive to get to, though. That's something that you have to definitely keep in mind. It is a long path back to get it. I think I've only seen this pulled off once or twice where they've been able to fire off a second excessive violence. Because, best case scenario, if he's not being attacked, he's only gaining 3 power a round, 2 from attacks and 1 from the round. Maybe he's gained some power from like Infinity Formula or Cube Fragments, but that's a big if right there. And then we have an innate Muy Caliente. This character gains 1 loaded token at the start of the game. That's how he fires his excessive violence right off the hop. So he has that right off the get-go. Now, we see some changes on his injured side, and this is where things get really interesting. So his attacks stay the same. Hydra tactics stay the same. Make it spicy stays the same. But he gains an ability. But how? It's an innate ability. If this character does not have an activated token and would be KO'd by having damage tokens placed on him, it gains a dazed token instead. During the cleanup phase, when you would normally flip this character's card as a result of a dazed token, it remains on its injured side, and this character loses 3 power. If at any time this is the only character you control, you lose the game. So what does this mean? Well, Bob, effectively, if you have not activated him, is essentially immortal. He's never going to leave the board for you, which, can be a great thing. It can be an awful thing at the same time. But it means you always have a character that's on the table that's potentially contesting objectives, or at the very least, you know is going to get back up next round. It does, however, mean that you're probably activating him a little bit later in the round to avoid the KO happening. But it also means that he has some interest. This is interesting defensive tech, because a lot of the time, if he's not activated, people might just ignore him. Now, the downside is that he loses 3 power whenever he would get dazed this way, which does kind of suck. So any energy or any power he gains from being attacked, he's just going to lose, which kind of sucks. Makes it really hard to get that the extra loaded token on that one, because he's potentially losing a whole bunch of power whenever he gets dazed. But, it kind of is what it is. But it's a really cool thing, and it keeps Bob in the game for a long time. So where does that leave Bob for the game in general? Well, unfortunately, I think Bob is a 2-threat that doesn't really see a lot of play because he kind of has a weird identity. He gets 1 really big attack, and then for the rest of the game, he's just kind of putting out some minor annoying pot shots, and is just kind of there in a lot of cases. I don't think I've ever seen Bob win games. I don't think he's ever really been a big game plan. I've seen Bob in a couple Hydra lists where he gains some extra power from Red Skull, Master of Hydra, by just securing objectives, and it's a way of getting to that loaded token a lot sooner. But it's one of those things where I feel like other characters kind of do the character assassination a little bit better. If he was able to get loaded tokens a little bit more easily, like say 6 power instead of 8 power, I think he would probably have a little bit more play, because he would get those attacks off more frequently, obviously, which, that's always what you're looking for. But that would also skew his threat cost a little bit, and he might start feeling like he's a little bit better than a 2-threat than he is. So what affiliations does he like to be in? I've had some fun with him in A-Force, where when other characters are taking damage, you can power up Bob and get to that loaded token a little bit extra fast. I've seen him a little bit in Magneto Brotherhood, where destroying terrain is giving you some extra power. I could see some role for him in Cyclops X-Men Blue, where whenever attacks are dealing damage, you can give some power out to the rest of your team. So there are some places where he might get some interesting play, but nowhere where he really excels. And I think that's unfortunate for a rather fun and interesting character on the table. He kind of gets lost to better optimized characters, which is always kind of an unfortunate thing that happens in wargaming. But I want to hear about your success stories with Bob. Where have you put him? What sort of fun have you had with him? All that sort of great stuff. And we will see you next time. Happy wargaming.